What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another brand new installment of For the Love of Wrestling. I, of course, am your host, the Renegade of Wrestling, JJ Williams. Happy Wednesday. It's Dynamite tonight. We all know what that means. Definitely looking forward to Samoa Joe versus Dustin Rhodes. Definitely anticipating the footage that is to be shown. And depending on in what light it paints the company will determine whether or not it is discussed on open mic night this weekend. I have a very strong feeling we will be discussing it, but that is then, this is now. Today we're going to be discussing NWA Powerrr from yesterday and NXT from yesterday. And NWA Powerrr kicked off its 18th season premiere last night, with the first episode featured from the Hard Times tapings. I know there was some confusion. We were starting to promote a Hard Times watch along here on the Multiverse Media. That was before we discovered it was a TV taping and it wasn't going to be a pay per view. But that stuff that we were kind of hyping is now starting to air. And the first match for the show was a NWA Junior Heavyweight Championship match featuring Joe Alonzo challenging Colby Corino for the title. This was a tremendous opening match. Lots of fast-paced action here in the junior heavyweight division. Lots of great spots and reversals towards the end of the match. Alonzo hit a variation of the stroke, Jeff Jarrett's finisher, for the pinfall. Becomes our new NWA Junior Heavyweight Champion. Again, fantastic match here. Great way to start the show off. We then had women's tag team action. Excuse me. For some reason, I feel even more tired today than I normally do when I actually got more sleep than I have in the better part of a week with all the WrestleMania stuff. It's just all catching up to me, so forgive me. But the next match was a match featuring the NWA women's division. It was women's tag team action. Ruthie J and La Rosa Negra taking on Rekka Tihaka and Tiffany Nieves, La Princesa. Again, this was some fantastic women's action here. A little bit of chaos between Rekka and Tiffany. Could we be seeing the beginnings of a potential feud here? La Rosa Negra was able to pick up the pinfall victory for her team in her first match in a little over a year. They tell us on commentary that she was in a car accident in Puerto Rico last year, and this is her first match back since recovering from the car accident. She looked fantastic out there. I don't recall ever having seen La Rosa Negra before, so I can only assume that one could say that she hasn't really lost a step. So, it was good, and there was heat between La Princesa, Tiffany Nieves, and Ruthie J. You may remember a few weeks ago they had a one-on-one match on NWA Powerrr that I talked about. Phenomenal there. Those two women have such great chemistry, and I look forward to more things from the NWA women's division. As a matter of fact, I think I can officially go on record now. We always talk about how the Knockouts division for TNA is the best women's division in the States. I've gotten Datilla and knowing everybody to acknowledge the fact that the NXT women's division is the second best. I'm going to go on record and say right now the NWA women's division is the third best. And then it's a coin toss a lot of weeks between the WWE main roster and AEW. I feel like AEW has the more talented women. Their division just has no structure, no storyline really. WWE main roster has got some talented women, some women that you're like, why are they still there? And they do have the structure, the story. They just don't know how to handle some of them because of the TV time. So it's definitely a coin flip there between who's 4 and 5. After that women's tag team match, we had Spencer Slade versus Magic Jake Dubois. Excuse me again. Spencer Slade versus Magic Jake Dumas. This was a fun match that saw Rolando, who's the manager of the Spectaculars, for whom Spencer Slade is a member of that team. Rolando came out and helped Slade defeat Magic Jake Dumas. Again, this was fun. This was probably the weakest match on the show, but it was still really good. It delivered in the ways that it needed to deliver. Main event was a title match for the NWA Women's Tag Team Championship, and it featured Pretty Empowered, the former champs, challenging the Keen Bees, who dethroned those ladies just a few weeks ago on NWA Powerrr. 2 out of 3 falls match. Now, the Keen Bees picked up the first fall in under a minute. I was like, whoa. I actually had to rewind because I'm still writing down what the match is going to be, and I'm hearing the 3 count. I'm like, what the hell happened? And then we get that first pinfall, and then we build a little bit in the match. Pretty Empowered gets the second one. They come back strong, get the second pinfall, probably around the 5 to 7 minute mark. And then we just go full tilt till the finish. Some great double team action. And the Keen Bees are able to pick up the third and deciding fall, get the victory, and retain their NWA Women's Tag Team titles. All in all, this episode of Powerrr was just fantastic. Probably one of the best episodes I've seen top to bottom since I started doing NWA Powerrr. I'm going to give this episode a 9 out of 10. If you guys don't have the CW app downloaded, I highly recommend you do. Download the CW app, watch this episode, season 18, episode 1, and just, it's a brand new season. Start there. Don't worry about everything that came before it. Watch this and make your decision going forward. So good in the action here for this episode. Going to take a commercial break here, and we're going to show you the upcoming watch-along schedule here for the Casa D18 Studios and the Jeff Meacham Network Multiverse of Media. We'll be back in about a minute.
3, 2, 1.
We are back, and now we're going to get into NXT. And the show kicks off with our new NXT Women's Champion, the Prodigy, Roxanne Perez, coming out. It's new heel Roxy in full effect. She kind of starts to brag and boast and gloat about her victory. Lyra Valkyria, the former champion, comes out. She's got her arm in a sling. She wants a rematch here. You know, Roxanne's kind of egging her because she's not medically cleared. And Tatum Paxley comes into this from the ringside area. You know, she's sitting there in the crowd. And Tatum Paxley looks like she's going to challenge Roxanne on behalf of Lyra. And Lyra's like, no, 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 I got this, I got this. And Tatum's like, but do you? And then Tatum Paxley turns heel and attacks Lyra Valkyria, throwing her into the stairs. Roxanne's in the ring cracking up. We knew this was coming, this Tatum Paxley heel turn. But I gotta say, it was very, very well executed here by the WWE NXT booking team. Roxanne then's like, well, I guess nobody's getting a match tonight, a title match tonight, and Natalia's music hits. She comes to the ring. Of course, she had that interaction last week with Roxanne. She's been around NXT these last couple weeks. She's seen the disrespect being shown by Roxanne, and Natalya being the boat, the longest tenured woman on the WWE roster that doesn't have McMahon or Levesque in their name. You know, she's here to pick up that fight, and a match gets made for later in the evening. We then have Axiom and Nathan Frazier, and they kind of show the NXT Anonymous footage again that circulated on the internet. And Ava Raine decides to make the match official. And Axiom Frazier are talking backstage, and they decide that if they cannot defeat Braun Breaker and Baron Corbin, they're going to disband. They're never going to team together again. You know, Emmanuel, I'm going to go ahead and agree with you. Normally, I would kind of be offended by that because Natty deserves so much more on the main roster. But if the main roster isn't going to use her right, then yeah, let her run NXT for a little bit. Let her be that dominant person down there. We then go backstage into the Chase U classroom, and Andre Chase is presenting honorary degrees to Kaylani Jordan and Fallon Henley for their assistance with Thea Hale at Stand and Deliver. And here comes JC Jane and Jasmine Ninks. And JC, as only JC can do, starts to prod and provoke Mr. Chase, asking if he ever told the classroom why they almost lost the university, why she had to save Chase U. And of course, Duke is sitting there, Riley Osborne sitting there, Thea's sitting there, and they're like, "What? What's going on here?" Andre Chase is trying to send JC away, says it's not important anymore. JC gets right up in Thea's face and says that Andre Chase bet money on Thea defeating Tiffany Stratton for the title at the Great American Bash, the match where Andre Chase threw the towel in. And because he threw the towel in, he lost the university. Thea, of course, wants to know if this is true. Andre Chase admits it, and Thea storms off. We don't see Thea the rest of the night. So, of course, I know Arlene is clamoring, like, are we still going to get that heel turn for Thea? Or is she going to end up coming back around because she realizes that Andre Chase thought enough of her to risk the school to protect her? We're just going to have to see where this goes in a couple weeks. We then had Kiana James and Izzy Dame taking on Kaylani Jordan and Fallon Henley, playing off of last night, the Stand and Deliver match. This was a good, fast-paced match. Great action to kind of start the night off by the second best women's division in the States, as we've already mentioned. Kiana and Izzy were able to get the victory after Fallon saved Kehlani Jordan. I'm interested to see where this goes. I think Fallon and Kehlani have great chemistry, but there's no women's tag titles in NXT anymore. So I'm curious to see if this is going to lead into a rivalry or not between Kehlani and Fallon. And if so, who's going to be the babyface? Who's going to be the heel? We then had a video package for Javon Evans, a little vignette, same one that we saw during Stand and Deliver, hyping him up. And when they come out of the video package, we see OTM, and they seem to be upset about this kid. Not really sure why, not a lot of explanation. Something about the fact that he calls himself the young OG. So, not a whole lot of story here, but building up the fact that we could have some kind of rivalry. We then go back to the no quarter catch crew in the locker room, and Charlie Dempsey is kind of openly talking about the match he had at GCW's Bloodsport X, put on by Josh Barnett. The D'Angelo family comes in, minus Tony D, so it's Dax, it's Crucifino, and it's Rizzo. And the men start to go back and forth here, and a challenge is laid out for Stax and Luca Crucifino to take on the no quarter catch crew. We then go back to the ring, and Javon Evans in his debut match is going to take on Scripps, the former Reggie. Phenomenal debut here for Javon Evans. He's only 19 years old. Lots of flash, lots of flair, lots of fast-paced action. Massive win for Javon Evans. Big shout out to Reggie Scripps for making the kid look good. The only thing that's going to stand in this kid's way is his health. As long as he can stay injury free, sky's the limit. I'm already clamoring to see Javon Evans versus Ricochet based off of what I saw last night. I feel like that would just be a barn burner. We then see Ridge Holland backstage, and he's being talked to. He's kind of being asked, what are you doing here? You gave an announcement a couple weeks ago saying that you were stepping away indefinitely. Then you were at Stand and Deliver as a panelist for the pre-show. Then you came out and you cracked Joe Gacy with the chair. And now you're here. Like, what is going on? And he says that, he kind of wants to apologize to Joe Gacy and everything. And here's Joe Gacy pops out of nowhere with that psychotic look on his face, and he forgives Ridge. And then here Ridge takes off because he just can't handle seeing Joe Gacy being Joe Gacy, and he bumps into the Latino World Order backstage, Cruz del Toro and Joaquin Wilde, and they're just not buying it. They don't buy it at all. They know the real Ridge Holland from SmackDown. They've been feuding, the Brawling Brutes and everything. And as Ridge leaves, he accidentally slams Cruz del Toro's hand in the door. Didn't get it. Honestly, at this point, I just don't care anymore. This whole angle with Ridge being built off of the fact that he causes accidents and accidentally hurts people is just stupid. This feels like McMahon booking. I know it's not, but it just is stupid. If this is actually going to go somewhere, they need to pull the trigger now. I'm done waiting for the payoff in this angle. From there, we go to Natalia versus Roxanne Perez. And again, this terrific women's action. Natty really brought it to Roxy and almost had her tapped in the middle of the ring. Lola Vice interfered, though, costing Natty the match, handing Roxy the victory. I definitely can see a long-term story here with all three of these women. But for right now, solid action. We then go backstage to the Wolf Dogs, who are hooting and hollering and firing each other up for their big tag team rematch tonight against Axiom and Nathan Frazier. And then we go to Lola Vice, who's kind of talking about the new North American Championship that's going to be debuting for the women and how she's tired of being passed over for opportunities, how she's going to make her own way. And here comes Natty from behind, coming back through the curtain from the ring, and she attacks Lola. I don't know if this is going to lead to a double turn where Lola becomes face and Natty becomes heel. But again, going back to what I was saying about Natty and Roxy, I definitely feel like there could be a little triangle rivalry going on here because Lola cashing in her breakout contract is what cost Roxy the match against Lyra. Now Lola cost Natty a match against Roxy, and now those two are beating each other up. So I could see another triple threat between those three women in the near future. We then go back to the No Quarter Catch crew, and it's going to be Miles Bourne and Damon Kemp with Charlie Dempsey at ringside versus Stax and Luca Crucifino. Good tag match here. Nothing over the top, nothing really to discuss. The family got the victory. I thought that was good. I feel like it proves that the family doesn't need Tony D'Angelo there at all times to win. And considering Tony D lost his match at Stand and Deliver, I wonder if this is going to bring any tension towards the family. Like, hey, we're still winning. What the hell happened with you? We then have a promo in the ring from Obafemi where he basically talks about how he's still the champion. He's on top of a mountain that nobody can climb. He is inevitable. And here comes Ivar from the Viking Raiders. No Valhalla. Eric's not back yet. Just Ivar comes out all by himself and basically starts to bring it to Obafemi. So I'm thinking we're probably going to get a title match here between these two in the not so distant future. We then have Jada Parker from OTM taking on Brinley Reese. So of course all of OTM is ringside, scripts, Bronco Nima, and Lucian Price. And then with Brinley Reese are Edris Sanofi and Malik Blade. This is another really good women's match. Not as good as the other two, and that's okay because both of them are still newer than the other women, but it was a really solid match. Jada showed some real intensity here and picked up the win over Brinley Reese. You got to wonder how much longer Brinley Reese is going to be okay with losing because she's been kind of having this standard white meat babyface attitude where she's just like, oh, I'm here. Yay, I'm wrestling. Oh, you lost. Well, that's okay because I had a good match. It's like, at what point are you just like, you know what? I'm tired of losing. We then go backstage and we see Ariana Grace talking to Sol Ruka, talking a little bit about Gigi Dolan and, Georgina, as Ariana calls her, and trying to transfer her into this beauty queen. They talk a little bit about the North American title. And of course, Sol Ruka feels like she's poised to become champion. At this point, Ariana Grace kind of scoots away from her because she has those aspirations as well. Lola Vice comes in at this point and starts ranting and raving about Natalia. Again, just furthering that storyline. Main event match, We do have another segment, but main event match, Axiom and Nathan Frazier versus Baron Corbin and Braun Breaker for the NXT Tag Team Champions. This was just an all-out banger of a match. Axiom and Frazier are able to pick up the victory. Final Testament come out, and the AOP attack our new champs as Cross, Scarlett, and Paul Ellering just kind of look on and laugh. And definitely going to be interesting to see where this goes. A lot of people feel like Cross and the AOP were so much better in NXT. They've been wasting away on the main roster. With the draft coming up, maybe they'll go down to NXT. I think the fresh change of scenery could be good for them. It's worked for Corbin, it's worked for Dijak. Maybe it'll work for Cross and the AOP. Okay, this one I'm going to address. The point, in my opinion, Emmanuel, and I could be wrong, you can tell this to Arlena, but in my opinion, the point of them losing at Stand and Deliver, and for those not following them, he's talking about Axiom and Nathan Frazier. Why did they lose at Stand and Deliver? I think it's because Baron Corbin has been so crapped on all these years. He deserved a WrestleMania weekend moment. He's the one that registered the pinfall to retain the titles. Braun got pinned here. One of his only pinfall defeats. To my knowledge, he was pinned by Dolph Ziggler when he lost the title the first time. Got it back. He was pinned by Mello. And he was pinned here. I can only think of 3 pinfalls losses that he has taken over his run in NXT. I might be missing some, and that's okay. But considering what happened after the show went off the air, and Braun giving a speech to the crowd, letting them know that he's leaving NXT to go to the main roster now, I feel like the loss meant more in front of the PC faithful, the people that have watched this kid grow up over the last few years, the people that are there week after week after week to watch the NXT talent do their thing. If they lost the titles at Stand and Deliver, the Philly crowd may not have responded the same way that the Performance Center crowd did. And Braun also wouldn't have been able to give the speech afterwards. I think it was all about them giving Corbin a Mania moment and having his finale be in front of the Performance Center fans. Main event was the Trick Williams segment. He comes out, starts talking about his victory, gives Mello his flowers because he acknowledges and admits the fact that he wouldn't even be there if it wasn't for Mello. Ilya Dragunov comes out, and Trick wants another shot at Ilya in the title. Ilya says no. The two go back and forth a little bit, and Ilya ends up agreeing on a match, but only if Trick Williams leaves NXT if he loses. Mello then comes out, attacks Trick, says that to get to Ilya, first, you've got me in a steel cage next week. So next week on NXT, Carmelo Hayes versus Trick Williams in a cage, and then in a couple of weeks at NXT Spring Breakin', which is a 2-week event, Tuesday, April 23rd and Tuesday, April 30th, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern, covered here across the multiverse of media. We will get Trick versus Ilya, and if Trick loses, he has to leave NXT. Of course, this could all just be this really could go either way, and I know that seems like a cop out to say, and well, of course it can go either way. But think of it like this: either Trick Williams wins and becomes champion, which seems like it's the obvious choice, because we saw Ilya on Raw 2 days ago. We saw Ilya announce that he's going to be part of the draft and is eligible to be drafted. So odds are Ilya is going to leave NXT. So have him lose the title. That seems like the obvious choice. But Trick is lightning in the bottle right now. He is so organically over that you even have fans during the main roster shows chanting, "Whoop that Trick." So who's to say that he's not going to take the L here and then go up to the main roster also? It really could go either way. And the fact that the last day of spring breaking is the day after the second night of the draft, it's like, well, what if Trick gets drafted? What's the motivation for him to win? He's already going to be on one of the other brands. Take the L, leave NXT, and go report to the other brand. I'm really interested to see how this is going to play out and develop. I'm not sure about you guys at home. Talk to me. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. We're going to take another quick break, show you where you can find all of the friends of the Jeff Meacham Network Multiverse of Media, where you can follow them on socials, their YouTube channels, etc. Be right back for the shows.
And now, preview time. So let's take a look at what's coming your way.
And we are back. So that is where you can find and follow everybody here connected with the Jeff Meacham Network Multiverse of Media. Again, whether it is our Twitch accounts, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the things, all the places you can find us. You can subscribe to us on YouTube. Just stay in touch with us, because as you all know, we love and enjoy doing this stuff for you guys, the viewers, the fans, the supporters of the multiverse of media. I see where you're coming from there, Emmanuel. But again, you've got lightning in a bottle right now with Trick. You don't want to let that cool down. Who's to say he will be this hot in a year when the next draft comes around? Someone else may have come around and taken all that energy, just like Trick did to Mello. Got to capitalize while you can. Make sure you guys tune in later on today, 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern, for the Greg Cherry Show live on the Greg Cherry brand and the Jeff Meacham Network. I'm sure they're going to have their post-WrestleMania thoughts and so much more as they lead up to tonight's AEW Dynamite. And again, we've got Samoa Joe versus Dustin Rhodes. They're supposedly going to be showing footage from what happened at All In. What footage they're going to show, we don't know. Is it going to be the backstage brawl and try to defend AEW from what CM Punk said on the Ariel Helwani interview? We'll see. Could they just be trolling and they're going to show some other kind of footage? Is the footage going to be authentic or is it going to be doctored? We'll have to wait and see. But regardless of what we see, you will see me tomorrow right back here, same bad time, same bad channel, as I discuss everything that goes down on tonight's episode of AE Dynamite. So until then, thank you for joining me, and I will see you guys tomorrow.
The Jeff Meacham Network's Multiverse of Media. For over 15 years, the recognized symbol of excellence and the standard bearer in coverage of sports and entertainment.
Thank you, JJ. Appreciate you.